Hi there, I'm Teri Hart, and this is The Heart of It All, a podcast about navigating the realities of caregiving. In today's episode, we are tackling technology. The fact is, our world is becoming more and more digital, and that means our seniors are being asked to be more technically literate than ever before. Not being online or even having a basic understanding of digital communication can mean that your finances, your healthcare, and your social life, just to mention a few, can be negatively impacted. So let's get into it. Seniors and tech. One of the first topics I wanted to talk about with this podcast is technology. The good, the bad, and the confusing. Not just for seniors in our lives, but even for some Gen Xers like me and some millennials. The fact is, the speed with which tech has not only entered but taken over every aspect of our lives is simply head spinning. Just to give you a timeline, the BlackBerry launched in 1999, the iPhone in 2007, Wi-Fi in our homes was around 1999, and Facebook for the general population was 2006. So in just over 25 years, we've become readily available, consistently monitored, and using our phones and tablets for everything, from medical appointments to shopping, playing some games, and in my family, sharing our Wordle scores daily and connections too. People in their late 70s or 80s probably didn't even use a smartphone in their careers. And now the world is asking them to tap and download, upload, and sync for everything in their lives. Here's the good news. A 2024 UK analysis of published studies that looked at technology use and mental skills in more than 400,000 older adults found that over 50s who routinely use digital devices had lower rates of cognitive decline than those who use them less. Technology may be able to help us with many things as we age, but before it can help, we have to be able to use it. Lisa Chang knows all about tech from every angle. She's a seasoned tech and lifestyle expert, keynote speaker, and proud mom with over 25 years in the technology space. You've probably seen her on breakfast television, CTV's The Good Stuff, and Global's The Morning Show. She makes complex tech trends relatable for everyday life. As host of the Health Tech Up, Lisa explores how technology impacts health and happiness, empowering families to make smarter choices. She inspires audiences with warmth, expertise, and real-world perspective, and she's been my go-to many times. Lisa, thanks so much for being here on The Heart of It All.
Terry, thank you so much for having me. I cannot wait to dive into this conversation. And I have to say, first and foremost, a huge, huge thank you for putting this on the table.
Oh, thanks. I mean, we've talked about it, right? There are so many issues for the seniors in our lives. And as I said in the intro, not just seniors, also like Gen Xers like me and some millennials. So what I'd love to do first is talk about some of the barriers of entry for seniors and how those in their life can help them to kind of break through. What's a good way to understand how comfortable or adept the senior in your life is with the technology that they're using?
Huge and very important question. When it comes to our seniors, I'm going to say their biggest barrier to entry overall is really two simple things. It comes down to their fear around technology because there is so much messaging and so much that's happening out in the world when it comes to attacks on our seniors, but it's also their confidence level as well. And when it comes to us as caregivers, are we patient enough to help them through this incredibly complicated world that we're living in? Now, when it comes to just us observing our parents and the beloved seniors in our lives, do you find that they hesitate before they're tapping on something? Do you find that they're resistant in learning something new? Because again, to learn technology across the board can be incredibly overwhelming. Do you find that they're anxious about making mistakes? Those are sort of some big, big keys that we need to be looking out for and then helping them through that.
Yeah, I think that you hit on two things. And, we talked with Jeff Horncastle from the RCMP, about scams on seniors in just
Oh,
our
yeah.
second episode of The Heart of It All. So you're right. I think there is a lot of fear. Does it have any bearing at all on whether they're on a phone or a tablet or if they're using a laptop or a desktop? What about like operating systems, iOS or Android? Any of those fundamentals make a difference, Lisa?
I don't think that it matters what platform they're on, whether that's an iOS platform or whether that's an Android platform. It really depends on what they are used to. If they've been using an iPhone for years upon years, then let's stick with that, stick to what they know. But the biggest thing is what ecosystem do they belong to? So I know when it comes to their files, when it comes to their contacts, when it comes to their photos, they want everything to sort of be all in one place. But we also want to make sure that whatever devices they are using, that they can customize their screen so that it's simpler for them to understand. If they need text to be larger, if they need something to be brighter, they're able to do that. Now, when it comes to the actual tools themselves, if they have dexterity issues, then obviously they're going to want something that's a little bit lighter weight. If it's an everyday device, I'm going to recommend that they, instead of using a phone, that they use a tablet. I think a tablet can be a great sort of middle ground between a laptop or let's say a desktop and a phone. We don't want them sort of bending and focusing on a small screen all day, every day. So I think a tablet is a nice middle ground.
So there are some ergonomic things to be concerned about that you're bringing up. And I'm telling you, I have to say, I knew this was going to be a conversation that I have to like be completely transparent about how
Yeah.
little I know about technology. When you say it depends on what ecosystem they're a part of, what does
Yeah.
that mean?
Okay, so I'm going to take the iOS ecosystem as a great example. When you have an iPhone and you have an iPad and you have an iMac, they are all working together. So they all communicate together.
I'm just going to like bring this down to basics that just some people might not know. An iOS operating system is what Apple uses,
You got it.
and
Absolutely.
Android is called what? Just Android?
So Android is really anything else. So, a Google phone, Motorola, let's say, Samsung. I'm telling you, when it comes to just overall technology, we're hearing so much that is so advanced. And to your point, Terry, we have to scale it all the way back. I didn't get to say this in the very beginning, but we're focused so much around digital literacy for kids a lot of times, for teens, for young adults, even for people our age, but our seniors are constantly getting forgotten about. And we all have to remember that our parents grew up at a time where maybe the most advanced technology that they had ever seen growing up was something like a telephone. In my parents' case, they didn't even grow up with a telephone. Taking a photo was once every decade, let's say, until they came to Canada. And then they had their first phone and their first, sort of bout with technology. So they literally grew in a generation that went from nothing to literally everything all at once.
Yeah.
And even for ourselves here, like if we grew up in the digital revolution, we went from being bored and playing with twigs in the backyard to seeing the internet be born, right? And look at how fast it's advancing. So you are so bang on and such an angel for doing it that you have to scale the conversation all the way back so that we can also get a reality check on our end that they need incredible support that starts with the basics.
And I think it's so important to recognize we are talking about things like iOS or Android. We're talking about upload and download and stuff. And these are terms that maybe they're not even familiar with. So, a big thing for me with my mom is making sure that she was able to download something, save it, and upload it, a document to an email. Like that kind of 1, 2, 3 step of communication. That's what
Yeah.
I started working with my mom on, not just as a tech expert, Lise, but also as a daughter and a daughter in law. What would you say are some basic necessities in terms of what people will be asked to do with technology and therefore kind of like the bare minimum?
You know what? Everything is moving to a digital platform. So we have to start from the basics. And I'm going to suggest that we do what's called a digital wellness starter kit for our parents,
Okay, say that again for me, Lise.
a digital wellness starter kit. So are they able to connect to Wi Fi? That's number one. Can they do that? And can they connect to Wi-Fi in a secure place? So I'm not talking about going to a local Starbucks and doing your banking from there. They have to know the difference that connecting to Wi-Fi at home or within a secure place is very, very different to connecting to Wi-Fi in a public place. So different activities for different environments. Secondly, nail on the head again. Are they able to download an attachment and send that attachment? So let's say they get a report from their doctor, or they get a banking report, or they get something. Are they able to download that, save it to, let's say, a system? So are they using a laptop? And then can they send that to the caregiver, us, right? So that's number two. Number three is, can they video call? So this is a big one. Can they make a call using FaceTime, using Zoom? I know in my mom's case, she's on a board for her community. Can she connect to a Zoom call or any other sort of virtual calling platform? And the next one is, are they able to use WhatsApp? So a simple video call using WhatsApp as well. The next one is managing photos. Are they able to download an online form and sign via e-signature? And then are they able to access their apps and do some basic app management? So this is another one. Are they using all the things that are on their phone?
I love this. Okay, I want to stop right here and I want to back up a little bit because I'm sure
Sure.
people are wanting to be reminded of what this digital wellness checkup looks like. And I feel
Yeah.
like we're going fast because I'm writing them down and I can't get through it. So, number one, can they connect to Wi Fi? And that means
Yeah.
connecting to Wi Fi outside of their own Wi Fi network at home.
That's right. So if let's say they're going to their local coffee shop, are they able to connect to that Wi-Fi? And that becomes really important because they can do their everyday activities. They can be out in community, right?
And also, I'm going to say for a lot of seniors, they don't have a huge data package on their phone. Like my mom really does keep her phone in airplane mode.
Oh, wow. You know what, Terry? That is actually a very, very great point, is that their data package is not huge. They don't need it the way that we need it. But I will recommend that the more that we can encourage them to be out and about and be amongst the community, the better it is for their mental health. So it is okay for them to be on their tablet and doing what they love, maybe a crossword, maybe reading up on the news, on social media, that kind of thing, but again, in a different environment than being in the house all the time.
Okay, so connected to Wi Fi. Number two, basic document management.
Yeah, exactly.
How would you define that again, Lise?
So it's simple things like a medical form, even a family photo. They should be able to know how to download those things and then save it to an overall system. They can do it on a tablet, but I would say that document management becomes easier on something like a laptop or a desktop. Number three was video calling. So, how do they stay connected? And how do they stay communicating? So something like, talking to family members, talking to siblings, all great, of course, on a video call, which we should be doing all the time with our seniors. However, they can even video call into their doctor. Or let's say they are in a doctor's appointment and they want to video call in with their children. My mom does that all the time.
I'm going to be talking to a doctor about that exact thing and where it intersects with patient doctor privilege and all those interesting aspects of that. But I love that you bring that up, that a video call isn't anymore just visiting, but it's necessary for health.
Absolutely. And I think that, the more complicated my mom's health history has gotten. So my mom has had three major spinal fusion surgeries. And at the time of every surgery, there have been multiple doctors involved, pharmacies, physiotherapists, naturopaths, even. For my sister and I, we have had to schedule meeting times with my mom during the time that she would go to her doctor's appointment. And she video calls in with the two of us so that we're asking the questions that she may be missing. So we also need to be, second and third ears for them.
Yeah, I love this practical exploration of these basic tools and how they're affecting your life because you are living it. Number four, WhatsApp. I think people might be surprised at that. Why WhatsApp?
Well, WhatsApp is another way to video call. So when you're on Wi Fi, you're able to do that. But a lot of people don't have the iOS system. So they don't have an Apple iPhone. So FaceTime is not a thing. WhatsApp is a great secondary source.
And then you mentioned photo management.
Yes. Okay, so I can say for myself, my parents, my in-laws, they love photos. I think when it comes to just their overall way to manage, organize, and file their photos, this can be a great way to minimize that digital clutter for them. So simple things that we can teach them.
What else do you have on your digital wellness checkup list, Lisa?
So, how to access an online form, how to fill that out. So, a lot of times those online forms are coming in the format of a PDF. I think a lot of seniors do not know what to do with this PDF, especially if it needs to be filled in online and then sent back online. So, how are they doing that? And then, how do they sign via e signature? And is that okay? I think a lot of times, as soon as something is digital, our seniors are often wondering, is this safe? And we have to be able to teach them what is safe and what is okay and what is not.
I'm going to bring up the P word. Nobody likes it. Everybody hates it. Passwords are the bane of everyone's existence. Can you walk me through some best practices for passwords, like password apps, using the Face ID, online banking, phone access? How do you approach password rules and what should we do with our seniors?
We can actually add password management to the digital wellness starter kit as well. So, passwords. Okay, let's get into that. When it comes to a great password management system, a lot of people don't realize that they now have a password manager in a lot of the latest phones. So, if you have a latest phone,
What is latest? Is that like 2023 or are we talking even earlier than that?
to say, you know what, probably pre-pandemic. So like 2019-ish, 2020-ish, you do have password management systems sort of built within your phone's platform. If you're looking for an app, the best one out there is called One. So that's the number one password. So you can download that, and that's going to allow you to store all of your passwords securely in one master password management system.
Is it free or does it cost money, Lisa?
It's free, so that's great. Number two is do not be afraid of biometrics. That is when your phone scans your face and that opens up your banking, your apps, your phone. We all have to understand that your face ID, your fingerprint unlock, or even your voice recognition are all great for especially seniors because it eliminates them having to remember and remember and remember all the different passwords for all the different things. At the end of the day, technology is there to protect us, not punish us for forgetting. Number three is a great thing for seniors, a tip is using what is called the 3-word rule. So find 3 words that are important or special to you. It could be a favorite food, a favorite activity, a favorite person, favorite actor, whatever it is. Find those 3 words, add one symbol, and you're good to go. That's a great password. That's something that nobody could ever guess.
I love that.
Oh, sorry, the last thing I forgot to mention is adding your two-factor authentication. So what is that? Make sure that it's set up for everything across the board. And the way that you can explain it to them is, like those locks that have the regular lock and then the chain lock, the two-factor authentication is your chain lock.
I don't think I have two-factor authentication set up everywhere. I think I need to go through that myself.
You do.
And so when you have two-factor authentication set up, that means when you log on to something, then you're also going to get a text to your cell phone or an email to the email address you've provided. And then you say, yes, it's me.
You got it. So biggest ones there, make sure that it's activated for, your banking apps, all of your banking information, things like maybe your Amazon or online shopping accounts, anything that's sort of connected to your ID and your banking.
Let's walk through, like we mentioned earlier, we do kind of throw these terms around iOS, Android, two-factor authentication, all these things that might roll off our tongues. But for people, this is a kind of a new language. Like I'm thinking of things that I've said to my mom, like click on the hamburger menu or click on the company name in the top left corner and that'll take you back to the main page of a website. Do computers or phones or tablets still crash? Like, is that language still used? Logging out versus closing the web page on banking? All those kind of just fundamentals. Can you walk us through
Yeah.
some of those, Lisa?
I love that you're asking this question because I think for so many of us, we're just going, 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 that we forget that they probably have no idea what any of this even means. So, the hamburger menu, I think that's a great way of explaining that that's sort of, you know, all the information, the table of contents, if you will, on a web page. When in doubt, always click the logo and it'll take you right back to the home page. Logging out versus closing something. We always have to be teaching our parents that they must log out and then close. If they X out of a website, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're logged out. So they're leaving themselves exposed. It's like leaving your front door unlocked. Cache and cookies is another one. I think we're seeing a lot of pop ups come up on different websites, which say, this website has cookies. Do you accept, or whatever the case is? Let's first off explain to our parents that cookies essentially means that we are allowing access to our search history, our information. And what we want to do as a best practice is clear out those cookies. So we want to clear the cache every once in a while.
So, are cookies and cache the same thing, Lisa? So, the cache holds your cookies.
Correct.
The cache is the cookie jar.
You got it. So I want you to think about it like it's your device's memory. It's your device's memory storage. Okay. So it's there and it's remembering all the things about you and it's doing all the great things that you want it to do. But you want to clear that out every now and then so that you can start from scratch.
What will that mean when you clear it out? What are the ramifications of clearing it out that we should maybe let people know about?
Biggest thing is it's going to help your computer run smoother. Terry, have you ever looked up how many tabs you have open sometimes on your phone?
Oh, darling, I am not a very, very good digital manager of things. Like when you were talking about photos, it's very bad over here. I need you in my life, Lisa.
I told you I need to be a repeat guest because this conversation can go on and on and on and on. So, yes, when it comes to the cache, biggest thing is it's going to help your computer run smoother. I want you to think about it like when you realize how many tabs are open on your phone and you just go and clear all of that out, it saves your battery life. It's the same thing over here. Now, you asked a good question. Do computers still crash and freeze? Yeah, they absolutely do. So, one of the biggest things that we want to teach our seniors as well is what does a firmware update mean?
Firmware update. How do I do that?
So it's like whenever your devices need like an update and you'll get a little pop-up notification, it's exactly the same thing. You just always want to make sure that your devices are current and they're running on the current software.
Okay, so a really great tool that we've used in our family a lot because my brother lives overseas. My mom does have a laptop in her house. She primarily is on her phone or her tablet, but we do have a laptop for her. And a great tool is remote access for a computer, especially for those who don't live close to their parents or their loved ones. How does it work for people who aren't familiar? And is it something you would recommend?
So are you and your brother using it?
Yeah. So, I mean, if Paul wants to log on to my mom's computers, if he's doing some financial stuff or he wants to take a look at, he'll just WhatsApp my mom and say, turn the computer on. And then he can be on her computer using a remote software that we downloaded for her computer.
Okay, so can I give Terry and Paul several gold stars right now? Because that is a huge thing. Okay, so for people that don't know what remote access is and how to use it safely here in Canada, it's basically like you're the IT department for your parent. So, what this means is you're going to get remote access to your loved one's tools and their devices.
Can you do it on a tablet or a phone, or can you only do it on a laptop?
My understanding is you can only do it on a laptop right now, but it saves the complication of your loved one having to figure this out on their own. So, the idea here, Terry, and I think you and Paul are probably doing this really well, is to not take control over your mother's device, but it's just that you're that added layer of security and you're her safety net in terms of help if and when she needs it. I would highly recommend this for anyone whose parent is on a laptop. Now, in terms of actual platforms, two of the most popular ones right now is Chrome Remote Desktop. So this is obviously, for anyone using Chrome. So you would need the Chrome browser. And you can set it up by going to remotedesktop.google.com. It's as simple as them sharing their screen. This platform is going to generate a one-time code for your parent, and your parent is going to send that to you. And there's literally no complicated setup. The best part is there's no subscriptions and there's no personal data that is stored here either. So if you are using Chrome, this is a fantastic way for you to use this remote setup. Microsoft Quick Assist is another one. So if you're using a Windows PC, then this is fantastic for you as well. So all you have to do is open Quick Assist and your parent will give you the assistance. So there's one button and they press that, and that will allow you to access the one-time code. And now you have access to their system. And then for those who are on an Apple system, TeamViewer is a great one for both Windows and Mac. So just some top 3 ones there for remote access.
Lisa, at the beginning, I said we would cover the good, the bad, and the confusing. So let's also talk about some apps or tech that seniors and their caregivers could take advantage of that could make life easier. I know there are a ton.
Okay, so one of the most popular ones here in Canada is something called CareClinic, and this is going to allow you to load in your prescriptions, track refills, and even notify your caregiver if something is missed. So CareClinic, big one.
I'm just going to ask, is CareClinic free? Are there subscription fees for these apps?
Great question. And a lot of times, Terry, what will happen is you're going to be given maybe the first month free, and then there's a layer of subscription there. Or you can have, like I said, different options within the apps to have it for free, but it gives you limited options. You have Medisafe as well, and My Therapy. Those are some top apps for prescription and medication management. Now, I have been doing so much research around accessibility tech. So this is for, people that have any type of physical ailment. One of the most top recommended and widely used technology devices out there, it's really quite simple, is a smart home system. So something like your Google Home, your Amazon Alexa can be crucial for setting up reminders, for allowing you to turn devices on, so that you don't necessarily have to get up. Like I said, my mother has had major spinal surgeries. In her recovery moments, if she didn't have to get up and turn on a light, she could have just accessed that through voice. And I do want to mention that this can be a game changer for anyone that's, struggling to stay on top of their overall calendar. However, there are more and more and more Canadians that are living with dementia than ever before. And there are things that are called dementia clocks, and those are sort of like smart home systems, but built for those with dementia. I would highly recommend anyone who's listening today, they go online and they look up what that looks like. And it is such a game changer for not only the one that's living with dementia, but also for the caregiver, because you can set up that dementia clock for when you're not even there.
I think that that's going to be a completely other episode on the Heart of It All podcast, Lisa, is technology to help in with specific health considerations.
There's so much out there, Terry. We have to start shifting the focus from, hey, you need the latest, greatest, smallest, thinnest, fastest, all of this kind of messaging, to being around the tech that's really going to change the game and help the way that people live day to day. We've had access to all of this tech for years and years and years. Something like a smart home. Are we using it to its fullest capability? Something like a wearable device, huge tool. Or even, I will say, accessing virtual healthcare. This is a huge, huge thing in Canada right now. Terry, there are more Canadians than ever before that do not have access to a family doctor. 1 in 4 Canadians do not have access to a family doctor. And a lot of them, believe it or not, are our seniors. I am going to recommend there are apps out there, Canadian apps, virtual healthcare apps like Maple. Okay, so Maple is a fantastic company, once again, Canadian, and they allow you to have access 24/7 to Canadian doctors and nurses who are there. You do not have to get in your car, you do not have to drive. You get the care you need at the time you need it. And then they can send your prescriptions, PDF. They can even send your prescriptions to your local pharmacy. That pharmacy can deliver it to your door. Yes, there is a subscription required. However, I'm going to say this can be such a fantastic solution.
When my dad was unwell, I had a really simple rudimentary Google Doc that had my dad's health history, and it was the
Yep.
best thing that I ever created because, you go to the hospital or you go to a new doctor and they say, "When did he have a stroke? When did he have a heart attack? What medications has he been on?" And it was just right there for us in a Google Doc all the time. I found that was the easiest thing to share with my mom and my brother, but maybe there's a more efficient or user-friendly way to share medical history.
Terry, I love that you did that. And I think that that is a great overall tip to share with so many people out there, especially when there's multiple caregivers involved. One thing I would say is start with the Google Doc, like you did, but then you can take it one step further and you can have something like Google Drive folders where you have scanned copies of maybe health records or past prescriptions, things of that nature. And you can also use Google Keep for, setting up reminders and scheduling that into your Google Calendar.
So what's that called again? Google.
It's called Google Keep. So remember we talked about an ecosystem, right? So what Google Keep can do is you can now set up a note. So that's your reminder. Let's say, mom needs to take medication on Wednesday at 9 a.m. What that's going to do is not only set up the reminder, so you're going to get the reminder, but it's also going to auto sync to your Google Calendar as well and set it up as though you have a meeting. Okay. So these are all things that work within the Google ecosystem that now you have access to.
So Google Keep sounds amazing, Lisa. And that goes
Yeah.
back to your first point of what is the ecosystem that you're working in digitally.
You got it. So again, exactly what you did. You had your Google Doc. Now you can have the Google Drive folders, and then you can access your Google Keep. You have your Google Calendar. Another thing that we're seeing in terms of change in how the overall healthcare system is operating is that a lot of hospitals and doctors are now using what's called an online patient portal.
Mhm.
So I would highly recommend that your parent and you as the caregiver that you find out whether or not that's even an option for you to set up that portal. And that's a place where you can sort of view test results, any upcoming appointments, care notes as well, what the doctor's recommending, and from there you can manage it. You can also get notifications.
I'm going to tell you a story about the online patient portal that we just tried to set my mom up with. And it goes back to those initial things that we have to make sure we're capable of doing. Here's what she had to do. She had to take a picture of her health card. She had to take a picture of her holding her health card, and she had to take a picture of another piece of identification. She then had to upload those three photos to the portal so that they are attached, and she had to fill out the questionnaire and send that in. So I went through it, but those are all the things that you talked about to make sure we know how to do.
Nail on the head again. And that is a real life situation that you and your mom are both in. And she needs to know those basic ways of, managing her online life. Why? So that her real life becomes easier in the end and it becomes easier for you too. So that online patient portal, huge in terms of her getting set up. Now, CareZone is a user-friendly app. It's available here in Canada, and it will let you securely store your health history, medications, any allergies you have, doctor's contacts, and you can now share that with other caregivers within the family as well. And what I love about this is that it lets you scan medication bottles. So that will automatically be added to your profile. So again, that app is called CareZone. And my last tip for this question is setting up a shared medical binder. So that's either a digital binder, and again, that could be a Google Drive folder, or it could be a physical binder or both. I know in my mom's case, she would much rather look at something physical, like a physical photo album, a physical health binder versus something digital, but it's nice to have both so that everybody has access to it. And there you want to load in something like medication lists, allergies and conditions, emergency contacts, passwords, right? Beneficiaries to different accounts, things like that. Insurance and doctor information, we also want those things in there. A lot of times we forget about insurance and appointment history as well. So while technology can't replace caregiving, it can definitely make it a lot more compassionate, a lot more calm, and a lot more coordinated.
I'll give you another real life example. When my dad went to the hospital, I just took out that Google Doc and I was able to just hand it to them in no time at all. And, in a lot of these situations, the amount of time until somebody can access medication or access medical help is crucial in terms of how they're going to get through an emergency situation.
Absolutely. And the last thing that I'm going to say, one of the biggest tips and one of the big sort of life lessons that I have learned is that even when my dad was in the hospital and he, unfortunately lost him 8 years ago, but when things were, getting really intense within our doctors and our surgeons meetings, we all know when we're in that situation, the doctors come in, they have very short time to spend with you. I would highly recommend that we always encourage our parents that if we are not there with them, that they use a voice note. They record that conversation. That is completely okay. It is okay to use tools so that we are staying on top of it. The reality is, Terry, we got to use tech to help us live better lives.
Absolutely. I think that is such a great point. I think we have done so much and covered so much for people today. Lisa, I have no doubt we are going to have you back on the heart of it all. Everything you're saying, I've learned so much. I have some digital checkup to be doing. My mom's probably in better situation than I'm in. So I think not only for our seniors, but for all of us, we've all learned an awful lot here. Thank you. There's a reason you are that incredible tech expert. Thank you so much. And we will talk to you very, very soon. Thanks, Lise.
Thank you, Terry. And I am happy to be back as often as you want. And yeah, you know what? We all have to be checking up on our tech health constantly. So, me too.
My goodness, she was amazing. There's just so much information. I know she will be back. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Heart of It All. It is a podcast about navigating the realities of caregiving. The podcast was created, executive produced, and is hosted by me, Teri Hart. Co-executive produced by Carrie Hayden and Jess Carroll of 6 of 1 Digital. Music provided by Riverside. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at The Heart of It All Pod, and let us know, how are the seniors in your life handling tech? What would you like to know about technical advances for seniors? And how do you use tech in your life to help your loved ones? You can find all of Lisa's contact information in our show notes. If you like the podcast, please subscribe and share this episode with someone who you think could benefit from these conversations. Also, consider giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, please take care. Ooh, this week's movie and TV recommendation is a fun one. Remember when I said Facebook became available to the general population in 2006? Here's what you should watch. The Social Network. It came out in 2010. It's a great reminder of how that social media platform changed our lives and how it became what it is today. And even better news, you're going to be ahead of the game when they make the new movie that's coming out about Facebook next year.